Hey, I'm Leanne, and this is the Keto Diet Podcast, and I'm so happy that you're here hanging out with me for episode 125. Now, we're doing something a little bit different today. I recorded a bonus interview with Christina Bruce about Instagram and self-care, and really how to find yourself throughout the social media age, and I never shared it with anyone. So I wanted to share this interview with you, and I also made a video with Christina and I. So if you want to check out the video plus a bunch of cool things we've included in the podcast extra and transcript, you can head on over to healthfulpursuit.com/podcast/E125 to check that out. I got one cool thing before we get started today, and that is that I've been busy working on a new cookbook. It's a paperback. It's called The Keto Diet Cookbook. I know, super original, but nobody's come up with that title yet, so you bet I took it. You can find out more about the book, how to pre-order, and all the things by going to ketodietbook.com. And when you pre-order, not only does it support me in getting the word out about my book and showing to bookstores that people actually want my book, it's super helpful. You also get a couple of freebies with your copy when you pre-order that nobody else is going to get. It's called the Keto Essentials Bundle, and it's complete with an allergen guide, a 3-day meal plan, and a special coupon code. So to grab that, all you got to do is pre-order the book, then go to ketodietbook.com, click on the free with your copy text at the top, enter in your email, and I will send you all the goodies. Again, that's ketodietbook.com. So today's guest and I chat all about what self-care is, how we can adjust to self-care, why Instagram self-care isn't real life. You know, the people who take pictures of themselves doing self-care and you're like, how do they look so fabulous right now that they can do self-care and have all that makeup on, and I don't look like that when I'm having a bath, or it's all fake. So I wanted to chat about this today because Valentine's Day is coming up, and I think we get so focused, especially on Valentine's Day, about how much we love of other people and the people that mean a lot to us, but we don't really take a step back and really appreciate ourselves and love on ourselves, accept ourselves, and really remind you that we don't need an in-house spa or perfect makeup or hair in order to celebrate self-care on a daily basis. Now, if you have questions about today's content, you can head on over to healthfulpursuit.com/contact and ask me. Okay, let's do this thing. Welcome to the Keto Diet Podcast, the show all about keto for women so you can burn fat, balance your hormones, and heal your body. Starting and maintaining keto can be challenging without the right support. So just for listening to the podcast, I want to give you 20% off the keto beginning with the coupon code KETO PODCAST. That's all one word. This 30-day program gives you a clear step-by-step how-to so you can quickly adapt to a ketogenic diet, avoid common struggles, and get the results you crave. Go to healthfulpursuit.com/begin to get your keto beginning discount today. If you're new around these parts, I'm Leanne Vogel. You may know me as the international best-selling author of The Keto Diet, founder of happyketobody.com, or maybe you know me as the nutritionist that likes dipping pork rinds in avocado oil mayo. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, Christina, thanks again for coming on the podcast recently. And we're doing a quick 10-minute chat about Instagram self-care, which is totally going to be the title of this video. Right before we started recording, we were just chatting about how people will post pictures of their beautiful self-care routines on social media, and we all think that we need a gorgeous clawfoot tub, plus a private yoga instructor, and maybe a boat.
Oh, yeah.
Go big or go home.
Self-care Sunday. Wouldn't that be nice? That is outside of the scope of my self-care.
Really? Seriously. I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy things on social media, and I just wanted to pick your brain because you are a supporter of the health at every size paradigm and life coach and yoga instructor. And I'm sure you have a couple thoughts about what self-care is to you. So why don't we start there? How do you see self-care?
Yeah. Self-care, like for example, meditation is huge for me. And we do have those lovely, Instagrammable moments of, I haven't Instagrammed myself meditating because I don't have a camera in front of me when I'm meditating. But, like that, those sort of more, what would you call it? Regular advice of self-care is important. Making sure that I do exercise regularly. I start to feel it. It builds up if I've gone several days and I haven't moved in a way where I've sweated. So that is important for me. But I think self-care also goes outside of the scope of what we're told is self-care, bubble baths and pedicures and manicures. Those are all lovely and great. Also, again, they're not available to everybody. Okay. So not everybody can afford to get a massage. So what do you do? Like self-care could be just staying at home on a weekend and not leaving the house and curling up and binge watching Netflix. That can be self-care if you feel like you just had a week. And that might mean also then saying no. So maybe you have an engagement that you're supposed to go to on the weekend and you just had such a week where you're like, I just can't do it. So saying no to that is really saying yes to yourself, and that's self-care. Also really honoring, I think, your emotions. So a lot of times we can be told that certain negative emotions are not welcome or are not okay. So feeling angry or feeling sad, and we push them down. And again, we try to be perfect or we try to meditate them away. Really allowing ourselves to feel our emotions and giving ourselves space for that is self-care. Really tuning in. What do I need? What do I really need? Do I need to have a conversation, maybe a difficult conversation with somebody? That can be forms of self-care that aren't so pretty, but they actually can really do a lot for our needs and making sure that our needs are met.
Back to today's episode in a sec. Today's episode is sponsored by Key, whole food keto bars created with love by a solo lady keto entrepreneur. I first tried Key bars during sailing training, where taking a break for lunch was not in the cards for the entire crew. First bite and I was hooked. These are whole food keto bars. No fiber fillers, no sweeteners, no stevia, no sugar alcohols, just collagen, gelatin, cacao butter, coconut, chocolate chips, and a couple of other whole food ingredients for real food flavor. You can actually taste the ingredients. There are a couple flavor variations of the bar. My personal favorite is quad chocolate because it's nut and seed free. However, Kevin's favorite is chocolate chip. You can try yours today by going to healthfulpursuit.com/KE and using the coupon code Leanne10, that's LEANNE10 for 10% off. If you're unsure of the link, simply check out today's show notes for all the details. Okay, back to today's episode. Something I've really been discovering lately as you become older and wiser, slowly but surely, you start to see your life with a different lens. And every year I think back to experiences throughout my life of trauma experiences. And I find the further I get away from those, the less emotionally charged those experiences are. And so my self-care has kind of transformed into dealing with those ugly, difficult past experiences and going through trauma and understanding that some of those traumas are stopping me from living my best life now, of like stories I continue to tell myself. And although, like you said, super ugly stuff, and there's a lot of crying and journaling and therapy, it's really helpful to work through that. And I see that as being self-care as well. Would you agree that trauma management and working through those traumas would be a healthful way of showing yourself love and self-care?
Oh gosh, absolutely. And acknowledging too, like you said, that was possible for you the further that you are away from it. So we may not be able to address certain traumas that happened if they're still fresh, or we don't have maybe the support that we need at that moment. So, like funny enough, I was just thinking, sometimes self-care can be like emotionally eating. And that has such a negative rap in our culture, again, because of the fear of weight gain and fear of fatness. But I have literally purposefully bought ice cream and watched a movie and said, this is what I need tonight. This is what I can do tonight. And I'm guilt-free. Like, this is self-care for me right now. It's when it becomes the only way that I know how to handle a situation that it could become an issue. But allowing ourselves these moments of quote unquote indulgence, and I hate even using that word, but allowing ourselves those moments of just saying, this is what I can do right now, and it's working for me at this moment. And I think that works. But then when we have that capacity to be able to look deeper into and address those issues and trauma with the support of a therapist, if we're past that, we want to move forward with it, a coach, like these are all really great things to do for our self-care.
I love that. I hope you're totally digging this episode. I love putting these together every week, and I hope you're getting something out of it. I love seeing where you're listening from. So next time you're listening, or even right now, take a picture of yourself watching the show or a screenshot of your favorite episode and tag me on Instagram at Healthful Pursuit. And if social isn't your thing, that's totally fine. Just jump on your favorite podcast player and leave a review for the show. Okay, back to the good stuff. As a yoga instructor, I don't know, are you still teaching yoga?
I'm not teaching publicly at the moment.
Okay.
I do have a couple private classes that I do, but yes, I am still teaching.
Cool. So how do you feel about the role of body movement in body love, self-care, and even just, I know for myself as somebody who struggled with an eating disorder for over 20 years, going to my first yoga class and like feeling my body for the first time ever was like so crazy. So how do you feel like that? How do you feel like the role of body movement has in your ability for body love, acceptance, and self-care?
So looking at, and I like that you're using movement versus exercise. So again, that, I'm sure that might even be intentional. And I use it very intentionally because we do have in our culture such a negative thing around exercise. We use it often as punishment. So noticing, am I exercising out of punishment? Do I feel like I have to or I need to? And shifting that then into what actually feels good for me, because movement is really important to our overall health. It is a health behavior that is so important to the capacity that we can. Again, if you have a chronic illness or a disability, just easily saying, just go and run 3 times a week. Like, okay, not available to everybody, but what could be available? Could there be some stretching? Could there be just some walking? And starting to get in tune with, how do I feel in my body while I'm doing this? And noticing, am I exhausted after it? Do I need to pull back from it? What sort of gives me that kind of lighter, joyful feeling? And I mean, frankly, I took up running recently, again, after a lot of years of not doing it, because I realized it's the summer and I have been inside way too long. I live right by the lake, which is amazing. And I felt amazing running for the first time because it was outside and it was moving my body. But I didn't use it to punish myself like I used to. So before, running was a punishment. And now it's because it feels good. And so I eased off on the number of times a week that I do it. I do it in a shorter quantity. And I really listen to if I'm pushing myself past that point of, I don't want to say comfort, because sometimes it can be uncomfortable if like I'm running. But there's that edge. There's that edge of, is it challenging or am I going to now hurt myself? So it takes some playing around, especially if we've been really disassociated from our body.
Back to today's episode in a sec. Today's show is brought to you by Four Sigmatic. Years ago, I was addicted to caffeine and it wasn't pretty. Multiple pots of coffee is what got me through the day. And if I didn't have enough, I'd suffer through headaches. If you want to get off the caffeine roller coaster like I did, try Four Sigmatic coffee. It has half the caffeine of the other stuff, but tastes like the real deal. What's the secret? Think of it like a 50-50 mix of coffee and unicorn dust brought to you by the power of mushrooms. Mushrooms have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for centuries to treat fatigue, sickness, kidney disease, and low sex drive. Their coffee is a blend of organic Arabica coffee and mushrooms focused on increasing brain power, lowering stress, energy boosting, and more. You can use the coupon code KETO for 15% off all things at foursigmatic.com/keto. Unsure of the link? Check out today's show notes for all the details. Okay, back to today's episode.
A lot of times we just follow an exercise routine. Pain is gain, like all that old, it's awful. No, pain isn't gain. Pain can be injury. Pain can be actually very bad for us. So that's our body screaming to tell us like, hey, slow down here, and really to start to reconnect and learn what does that feel like. And again, that takes some time, and it takes trial and error to figure it out. And it changes every day.
Yeah. As soon as you figured it out, there it goes.
Yeah. So it's really learning and noticing, is there a fear also associated with our movement? Are we doing this out of fear, or are we doing it because it feels good? And learning that difference and learning to trust ourselves, depending how far into, diet culture has been, will take time.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said, Christina. Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much to Christina for recording this episode with me. I'll put a link to her social media, website, and resources in the podcast extra and transcript, which you can find at healthfulpursuit.com/podcast/E125. Thanks for listening to the Keto Diet Podcast. Join us again in a couple of days to discover more keto for women secrets for your fat-fueled life. The Keto Diet Podcast, including show notes and links, provides information in respect to healthy living, recipes, nutrition, and diet, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Keto Diet Podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without any representations or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice, and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.